So this is the 12th of December. We've just finished planting and mulching the garden, and I thought I'd do a quick walk through and show what we're experimenting with so I can look at it later and see what we did. So in this first bed, we've put tomatillos, and there is a New Zealand spinach and tomatoes, and I put a few lettuces in the middle. We planted the tomatoes, gave them each a handful of different amendments to the soil. Eggshells, potash, blood and bone, and Epsom salts. Then we put down newspaper and then this baleage. And then I decided to try putting a few lettuces in. Most of them got burned so badly they died right away. The tomatoes and tomatillos got burned a bit too, but they are coming out of it pretty well. And this is the garden we just finished digging up yesterday. That's Martha's section. She's been taking care of that. And Nathan has a kumara plant there. We decided that we'll wait a few days before we do anything with this and see about digging up the oxalis that pops up. I see one already. And then we'll mulch it and plant flowers in it. Although I already have a sunflower here. The willow posts are growing already. There's a little flower bed that Martha has. I noticed we have some borage coming up, so I'll need to move that. This next bed is a combination of cabbage and beetroot with a few carrots I started in punnets and then transplanted. Here too, I spread the mulch and then planted through it, and almost everything survived. Some of the things got burned a bit, and a few died, but most everything here did fine. There are some cabbage worms already. I need to come back and pick those off. And some hollyhocks that came up. I put some basil in here and on the other side too. More hollyhocks, they're stretching for the sky. There's quite a bit of basil on the other side of that one. These are strawberries. They're an alpine strawberry, I think. Some kind of a wild strawberry. The person who gave them to me used them for ground cover, so I decided to put them here in this spot where it's kind of shady and see how they do. They seem to be thriving. We just got this weeded again. It wasn't very bad. And we're going to put down a fresh layer of sawdust around it pretty soon. We've just cleaned out the chicken coop today and used the cleanings for the potatoes. We're here on the other side of the chicken run is the corn patch. I have a couple of, one sunflower, looks like it got burned, and a New Zealand spinach here. I have two ages of corn here. These are the first ones and then a younger group. And I think these are butternut maybe? I can't remember what kind of pumpkins. And more corn, and then this part is still empty. I'll put another batch of corn here very soon. I think there are some, I put some sunflowers down at that end. And then a couple more sunflowers here, and some more New Zealand spinach. I just plopped it in wherever I thought it might work. I put a few zucchinis here. I just planted them last night, so they haven't recovered yet. More corn here. And this one, we lost a lot of corn because the baleage was too fresh when we put the corn plants into it. They got burned pretty badly. And the zucchini here got burned very badly too, and I thought we'd lose it, but it recovered. So did the pumpkins I put in here. This corner is the pumpkin patch again this year. I had them here a few years ago and they did fine. These also got burned when I put them in. Right here is some old rotted hay that had been in a pile in the garden for several months, and it didn't bother them at all. But this was a fresher bale that still smelled pretty strong, and it did harm them. We only lost one, and the rest have come out of it pretty well. There is our pile of compost to use this summer. We discovered that it was cheaper to buy 18 cubic meters of compost and have it delivered here than to go get the 12 or 14 we actually needed and haul it ourselves. So we got a big truckload, and now we have extra. This is supposed to be the onion bed. As you can see, we have a lot of potatoes because that's what I had here last year. So I'll be digging them in pretty soon to be eating on. I also put kumara at this end, or sweet potatoes, as you call them in America. It's the same thing. Now I need to weed this. This is the one last thing I need to weed. I put some kohlrabi here in among the onions. We're trying something different with the onions. We planted 2 or 3 bare root seedlings together and left a wide space in between. So we'll see how that does. What else do I have here? Oh yeah, I put celery throughout this bed, and parsley too. I'm not sure where some of oh, there's some parsley over there. I'm not sure if you can see it. There are also volunteer radishes that Martha has been enjoying pulling. So there's some coriander and cilantro coming up. This is an interesting bed. I have trouble getting carrots to germinate. Last year I started the carrots 3 times and got 1 carrot. So this year I decided I'd water them every day, and sometimes several times a day. And the same thing with the parsnips. I put parsnips at this end, and then most of the rest of this is carrots. Well, after a month, I didn't see a single parsnip yet, so I thought, well, they won't come up. So I weeded through it and wasn't sure what I'd do with the area. And then I discovered there are parsnips coming up. So it worked. What I did with the seeds was just scatter them and didn't even cover them. Now that didn't work with the radishes. From probably half a packet of radish seeds, I got 2 or 3 radishes. So apparently the birds found those seeds. So that didn't work. But, see this? Carrots. I've added more seeds, so I'm keeping it wet again. Then I decided to set out some lettuce plants, and then I'll be cutting them out before they're too big for the carrots. This was supposed to be kale. 1 plant came up. I'm guessing again that the birds saw the seeds and got them. The spring onions did come up. They're here. In the trellis this year, I've put, let's see, this is acorn squash. I'm planning to train it up over the trellis. On the other side, it's cucumbers. In between the trellises, there's last year's silver beet and a beautiful crop of lettuce. You can see there are lots of calendulas. I put the leeks in between the trellises. And the way I planted the lettuce and the leeks was I dug up, softened an area a little bit, and added some compost, planted, and then mulched right away with grass clippings. Over here are some of the runner beans. And this is Nathan tossing candy bars to his sisters. Apparently one of his paper route customers gave him some.
The paper company.
Oh, okay. The newspaper sent them. This is supposed to be Swedes or rutabagas and turnips. It's mostly oxalis, so I need to get through that again. I mulched, but obviously the mulch... no, I didn't mulch that part. That's right, because I planted seeds. I direct sowed there. This is our new crop of silver beet and more kohlrabi. This, let's see, is a beetroot that I'm letting go to seed. And here's the other trellis. I've put peas on one side and beans on the other. There are the potatoes that we've just mulched. And I'm letting some leeks go to seed. And also some red onions here. There is the garlic crop, and it is a very sad story. Looks like it got rust pretty badly again this year. Need to figure out how to deal with that. I have a couple of African gem squash here. We like to use these for stuffing. They're kind of like a zucchini, but they're round and they have a hard shell. They're really delicious. So this is the potato bed with the Swedes I'm letting go to seed. I'll be harvesting those and getting rid of them as soon as I can. And parsnips. Can you see how tall those are? I have this at eye level. I'm 5 feet tall. There's the top of the parsnips. They are forming seeds already. And some lettuces grew in that, so we need to cut them out pretty soon before the potatoes cover them up. That end of the potato bed is looking a lot better than this end. We've been pondering what makes the difference. Those came up a lot sooner, and we're thinking it might be James's special technique of planting them, which we need to figure out how to do it. A bit more coriander there. And then the greenhouse. I put a couple of watermelons here. I've already pulled out a bunch of lettuces I let go to seed. This end I have a few basils. And here are last year's leftover peppers and chilies. They're growing pretty nicely. I think a little over half of them survived the winter. It's my first crop of zucchinis. They aren't getting pollinated though. For one thing, they don't have any male flowers yet to speak of. And I'm not sure the bees have found them. This is a chili that's on its 3rd season of producing fruit. It doesn't look real pretty anymore, but it sure puts on. And I planted some kumara in here too. We've put down, what do you call it? Soaker hoses underneath the mulch in here. We need to add more mulch. But we decided we need grass clippings rather than hay in here for the most part. There's my new crop of peppers. Looks like some of them got their leaves burned with the mulch. This is a bit of baleage that I put in here because we ran out of grass clippings. But this kumara is looking good. These were the first ones I planted, and they're running pretty nicely already. I just planted these last week. Here are the rock melons, or musk melons. And I planted those a couple of weeks ago, and these I just planted a week ago. Here's our, hopefully, early crop of cucumbers. They're starting to bloom. I haven't seen any growing yet. I need to remember to take this in. It's some of the lettuce seeds I saved. A couple of more basils and a couple more tomato plants. That one is one that I found growing in a punnet underneath the shelf in my greenhouse, the other greenhouse, and saw it was a couple feet tall and putting on blossoms. So I thought, oh, you want to live, I'll find you a place. So I put it in here, and it hasn't recovered yet, but it will. A few watermelons there. And then over here is most of the tomato patch. And yeah, we planted them the same way as the others. They're setting fruit already, so we're hoping for tomatoes in mid-January. And the raspberries. They're giving us quite a nice crop this year. I'm not sure why that branch is dying though. Need to figure that out. And I need to get them pruned. So that's what's happening right now. And I'll try to do an update in a month or two.